Namaste. This is David Hawthorne at astroview.com. Today is the 22nd of March 2016. The following is the Vedic Astrology chart for Brussels Airport at the time of the bombing this morning at 7:59 a.m. Now, using systems approach for interpreting horoscopes as developed by Professor V.K. Chowdhury, then we see in this chart, in the first house, we have the first sign, Aries, and the ascendant or rising sign degree is 17 degrees 6 minutes. So this chart is Aries, ruled by Mars. So the ruler of this chart, Mars, has gone down here into the 8th house, into the 8th sign, Scorpio, at 11 degrees, sitting with Saturn at 22 degrees. Now, of the 12 houses, from the first house around through to the 12th house, we say 9 houses are favorable, and these are the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 7th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. Those are favorable houses. But 3 houses are inauspicious houses called Dustan Babas, and these are the 6th house, the 8th house, and the 12th house. Planets going into the 6th, 8th, or 12th houses, either in the natal chart or in the transit chart, become weak automatically. So Mars, Saturn, Sun, and Mercury are all weak because they're in the Dustan Babas. Mars rules this chart, and it's in the 8th house, which is called Randra, which means transformations and vulnerability, and it's often connected with accidents, obstructions, delays, disappointments, setbacks, and death-like experiences. So the ruler of the chart is utterly weak in the 8th house, so there's no protection. And Saturn rules this 11th house of Aquarius, and Ketu and Venus are ruled by Saturn, which is also in the 8th house. So that drags these planets into the 8th house. This is not ideal. So Venus, ruling relationships and foreigners, is in the 8th house of accidents and death-like experiences. Over here we have Jupiter retrograde at 22 degrees, Moon at 24 degrees, and Rahu at 27 degrees. These 3 planets are in the 5th house in the 5th sign Leo, which is ruled by the royal sun, but where is Sun? In the 12th house. Hospitalization, losses, expenses, separations. And Sun rules the government. Now the problem for the Aries rising sign chart is that this 6th house is Virgo, which is the Multricone sign for Mercury. So Mercury actually becomes a functional malefic planet for Aries rising sign. And notice that Mercury is only a degree and a half from the Sun. Mercury rules the 6th house of enemies, disputes, explosions, and also accidents. And it's afflicting Sun ruling the 5th house of mind, and Moon ruling the 4th house of happiness and property, Jupiter ruling the 9th house of good fortune and divine grace. So these are utterly weak because their landlord is in the 12th house and afflicted by the functional malefic Mercury. This is not good. Plus Mercury is in its debilitation sign. So it's weak. Moon, which is the public, you can see is only 3 degrees from Rahu, which is an eclipse of the public. Rahu's vehemence and rage. And Ketu is aspecting the moon, and this is explosions. Very explosive. So this causes hysteria. Moon is the peace of mind and the emotional state in the public. Rahu Ketu causes huge eclipse. In terms of the timing of events, we see that Venus was the main period ruler. It started last February, it runs until to December 2017. So this is the Mahadasha, which is the general trend or riverbed of time, and this is the Antradasha, the subperiod or operating planet. So Venus, the Mahadasha, is well placed at 18 degrees, but who's the landlord? Saturn. Where's the Saturn? In the house of death-like experiences. And Mercury is the operating planet, and Mercury rules the 6th house. Disputes, enemies, violence, and it afflicts the Sun, ruling Moon, the public, and Jupiter, good fortune. So these are all weak. There's nothing to protect anything in this chart. So this causes some disputes with the government. Sun, the government. This is the Navamsa chart, 1/9 divisional chart. You can treat it exactly like you do a birth chart. So for this chart, the 6th, 8th, and 12th rulers are functional malefic planets. Saturn, Mars is afflicting Jupiter, and Sun. Sun afflicts the house. Sun rules the 12th house, it's in the 1st house. Ruler of this chart is Mercury in the 12th house, losses. So not a lot of protection here. Moon is in a stabilization sign. So there's not much support in this chart for this chart. So of course our prayers and best wishes are for those who have been injured or who lost their lives, and for their families. All this terrorism is just so terrible that we're experiencing in our world nowadays. So let's hope that we can have some change of leadership and people can move in a more positive direction in the world. We need to share this world, not be so territorial and violent with each other. Namaste.